You cook once, and the stovetop turns into a sticky battlefield by dinner. Tiny splatters harden into a dull film, and that film grabs every crumb like glue. You wipe with a wet paper towel, and it smears, then it dries, and it looks worse. So you buy a shiny spray that promises miracles, and you still end up rubbing. Then the surface looks scratched, the stainless looks cloudy, and the glass top looks hazy. Here's what almost nobody says clearly. Grease is oil, and oil does not surrender to perfume cleaners. Oil surrenders to a degreaser, plus warm water, plus time. That is the entire trick. The $2 liquid is Dawn dish soap mixed with warm water in a spray bottle. Optional, if the stove is extra sticky, you add a light mist of white vinegar first, then the Dawn mix. This is not a harsh chemical bomb, and it is not a scrub marathon. It is a controlled soak that breaks the grease bond so you can lift it off. Cleaner giants pray you forget this because it turns a big problem into a small habit. No scrubbing does not mean you never touch the surface. It means you do not grind, you do not scrape, and you do not use abrasive pads. You let the mix do the separating, then you wipe once and the film releases. Most sprays fail because they leave fragrance oils on top of the film. That oil can trap the original grease underneath, then heat brings it back like a bad memory. So you feel clean for 10 minutes, then the sticky layer returns and the surface looks dull again. The real enemy is not the splatter you can see. It is the invisible layer you keep spreading. Once that layer builds, it holds dust, it holds smoke residue, and it turns every wipe into a smear. So the goal is simple. Break the oil bond first, then lift it away in one clean pass. That is the moment you stop buying stronger products and start using smarter timing. And before we continue, if you want to see truths that the big industry does everything to make sure you never see, and you want practical tips and hacks that truly change the game, subscribe to the channel now. You'll learn more and also strengthen the channel so we can keep delivering content. Thank you from the heart. Start with one rule that saves every stove. Do not attack hot grease with cold water. Let the stove cool to warm, not blazing, because warm helps the mix spread, but heat can flash dry it and leave streaks. Step 1 is remove the thick stuff before you add any liquid. Take a dry paper towel and gently lift off pools of oil, crumbs, and loose residue. This matters because liquid on top of thick grease turns into soup and spreads it wider. Step 2 is your spray mix. Fill a bottle with warm water, then add a few drops of Dawn. Not a squeeze, not a puddle, just a few drops, because too much soap leaves a film. Swirl gently, do not shake hard, because foam steals control and makes you over-apply. Now spray the greasy zones evenly. You want a thin, wet layer, not a flood, and you want full coverage so the film cannot hide. Then you wait 3 to 5 minutes. This waiting is the part people skip, and skipping is why they scrub. Soap needs time to wrap around oil and loosen it from the surface. While you wait, set yourself up to lift cleanly. Grab a microfiber cloth or soft sponge and keep a second clean cloth ready for rinsing. If you use a sponge, use the soft side only. Abrasives can scratch glass cooktops and can haze polished stainless. After the timer, lift, do not grind. Pull the grease in one direction and watch it transfer onto the cloth in brown ribbons. Flip to a clean section of cloth often, because a dirty cloth spreads the same grease you just lifted. Now rinse, because leaving soap behind is how the stove turns sticky again tomorrow. Take a clean damp cloth with plain water and wipe once. Then take a dry cloth and buff lightly so the surface dries clear and does not streak. If you are on stainless steel, wipe with the grain so the finish stays even. If you are on a glass cooktop, do not chase tiny specks with pressure. Spray again, wait again, and lift again because time beats force. Now the optional boost for heavy sticky spots. If the grease feels like syrup and the Dawn mix alone is slow, mist white vinegar first. Wait 1 minute, then spray the Dawn warm water mix on top. Vinegar helps loosen mineral haze and old grime that holds grease in place, and it makes the lift feel cleaner. Still no heavy scrubbing, just a second short wait and a gentle pull. Now let us make the proof visual, because this is a channel built on results. Split the stove into 2 sections. On one side, do the common mistake, spray and wipe instantly, then rub harder. On the other side, do the method, dry wipe first, spray, wait, then lift. In 5 minutes, the difference is obvious. The method side looks clear with less effort, and the mistake side looks smeared and tired. Now the reason this works in plain language. Dish soap grabs oil molecules and helps suspend them in water. Warm water speeds the process because warm grease softens and moves easier. So the film releases, and your cloth lifts it off in sheets. You are not fighting the grease, you are ungluing it. This is also why flooding can make things worse. If you dump water first, you spread oil across a wider area, and you feel like the mess doubled. Control your moisture, keep it thin, and let time do the work. Now the mistakes that make people say this is fake. Cold water keeps grease stiff and stubborn. Too much soap leaves a slick film that attracts dust. A rough pad on glass creates micro scratches that hold grime. Cleaning a blazing hot surface turns the mix into steam and leaves streaks. Skipping the rinse bakes residue into a cloudy haze on the next cook. Now the safety notes that keep this practical. Do not soak electrical igniters. Do not pour liquid into burner ports. Use a spray, not a bucket, and keep the mix on the surface, not inside the hardware. If you have gas burners, remove grates and caps and wash them separately in warm, soapy water. Rinse and dry them fully before putting them back, because wet burners can misfire and smell. If you have a glass cooktop, never use steel wool or harsh powders. If you have polished stainless, avoid abrasive pastes that can dull the shine. Now the maintenance ritual that stops grease from becoming crust. After cooking, while the stove is still slightly warm, do a quick dry wipe with a paper towel. That removes fresh splatter before it turns into a glued layer. Once a week, do the Dawn warm water spray in 3-minute wait. Lift, rinse, dry, and walk away. A $2 bottle, a warm spray, a little time, and a wipe. No heavy scrubbing, no scratched surface, no perfume cloud. Just a stove that looks normal again, which is the real flex in a busy house. If you want an easy upgrade, keep a microfiber just for the stove. When the cloth stays clean, every wipe is faster, and the finish stays clear. Simple method, simple habit, and you stop fearing splatter. Every time. If you want this to feel truly fast, you have to stop feeding the grease layer between cleanings. Grease does not become a crust because you cooked once. It becomes a crust because you cooked, then warmed it again, then wiped it wrong, then baked it again. So part 2 is the system that keeps the stove from rebuilding the same film every week. Start with the biggest hidden heat source, the burner area, and the vent hood. When you cook, vaporized oil rises, then cools, then settles back down as a sticky mist. If your hood filter is greasy, it stops catching that mist and it dumps it back onto your stove and counters. So once a month, pull the hood filter and soak it in warm water with a few drops of dish soap. Let it sit, then rinse and dry, because a clean filter reduces future grease load. Now, let us handle the stove by type, because one mistake can scratch glass or haze stainless. For a glass cooktop, the rule is no grit and no pressure. Use the same Dawn warm water spray, wait, and then lift with microfiber. If you have burned on sugar or syrup, use the same weight, then lift in layers, because scraping hard can scar the glass. If you need a blade tool, use it only as a last resort, flat to the surface, and only on hardened spots, not as your default. For stainless steel, the rule is wipe with the grain and never chase shine with abrasives. Soap plus warm water breaks the oil, then rinsing removes the soap film that creates streaks. If you want a polished finish, dry with a clean cloth, then buff lightly with the grain. For enamel and older painted surfaces, the rule is do not let liquid pool near seams and knobs. Spray lightly, wait, lift, rinse, dry, and keep the hardware as dry as possible. Now, for gas grates and burner caps, this is where people waste energy scrubbing the wrong way. Do not fight baked grease while it is still hard. Soak first. Fill a sink or tub with warm water, add a small amount of Dawn, and let the grates sit. After 10 minutes, wipe with a soft sponge and most of the film slides off. Rinse, dry fully, and only then put them back. Drying matters because water trapped under caps can cause weak ignition and weird smells. Now we talk about the claim, no scrubbing. No scrubbing means you are not using heavy pressure, but you are still using motion. The motion should be lifting, pulling, and wiping, not grinding. If you feel yourself pushing harder, stop and add time, because time is the silent scrubbing you are trying to replace. Now let us cover the one move that makes the whole process feel unfair, the pre-wipe. Before any spray, do a quick dry wipe to remove loose grease and dust. Dry removal is faster, and it prevents spreading because loose oil plus water becomes a slippery smear. A dry paper towel is fine, then spray, wait, and lift. That simple order is why the result looks clean instead of cloudy. Now, if you cook daily and you want the stove to stay presentable, you need a 30-second reset habit. After you turn off the burners, wait until the surface is warm, not hot. Then, take a damp microfiber with a tiny drop of dish soap, wipe once and rinse the cloth and wipe once more. Finish with a dry pass. This is not deep cleaning, it is grease prevention. It keeps film from building thick enough to become sticky. Now, the mistakes that sabotage even the best method. Leaving the stove in direct sunlight through a window can bake grease into a varnish. Using a scented spray after cleaning can leave oily residue that attracts dust. Using too much soap can make the surface feel clean but look hazy under light. Skipping the rinse makes the next cook bake the soap film and trap new grease faster. Using abrasive pads creates microtexture that collects grime, so the stove gets dirty faster forever. Now, if you want a simple on-camera proof that the method removes grease instead of spreading it, do the finger test. Before cleaning, lightly touch a greasy area with a clean finger and show the shine on your fingertip. After the wait and lift and rinse, touch the same area with a clean finger again. The second touch should feel dry and neutral, not slick. That tactile proof is simple, and it makes the transformation believable. Now let us address the villain line, cleaner giants pray you forget. Here's the realistic version. They do not want you buying dish soap once and using it for everything. They want you buying a different bottle for kitchen grease, another for glass, another for stainless, and another for daily wipes. They want a shelf full of specialized products, because specialization sells. But grease is still grease, oil is still oil, and soap designed for dishes is literally designed to break oil safely. The trick is using it the way it was meant to be used, with warm water and dwell time. Now, for extreme cases, like grease that has been ignored for months, you do not panic. You run 2 cycles instead of 1. Cycle 1 is spray, wait 5 minutes, lift, rinse, dry. Cycle 2 is spray again, wait 3 minutes, lift again, rinse, dry. 2 cycles with light pressure beats 1 cycle with heavy pressure, and it protects the surface. If you have sticky knobs or a greasy control panel, do not soak it. Dampen a cloth, wipe gently, then wipe with a plain water cloth, then dry. Keep liquid out of seams and buttons. Now, if you want the optional vinegar boost, use it smart. Vinegar is for old grime and mineral haze, not for every daily wipe. Mist vinegar, wait 1 minute, then apply the Dawn warm water spray, wait, then lift. Always rinse and dry after vinegar, because acids left behind can dull finishes over time. Now we lock in the last piece, where you store your cleaning cloth. If you leave a greasy cloth in a warm, damp place, it turns sour and it re-spreads odor. So rinse the microfiber well, wring it, and let it dry open. A clean cloth is part of the no scrubbing promise because a dirty cloth forces you to push harder. Finally, and with the payoff that makes the video shareable, you did not buy a new product. You did not scratch your stove. You did not spend an hour. You used warm water, a few drops of Dawn, a short wait, and a gentle lift. Once you see grease slide off like that, you stop believing the stove has to be a war zone. You just run the method, then you keep the habit, and your stove stays calm. Here is a weekly schedule that makes it effortless. Once a week, do the full spray and wait on the stove surface, then rinse and dry. Once a week, wipe the backsplash behind the burners because grease mist lands there and drips down. Once a week, wipe the front edge and handle area because fingers leave oil that turns into grime. Once a month, soak grates and caps and clean the hood filter. If you have kids, store the spray bottle high because mild mixes are not toys. If you ever see smoke when you cook, check burner pans or drip trays because hidden grease can burn and stink. Clean those trays with the same soak method and you reduce future mess. That is the difference between cleaning and controlling grease.